father was the first band sponsors president in 1958, Howard Pyatt. My mother, Dolores, was the secretary and made lots of pokies with the Fieldings and the Kernags and the Swansons, and I believe June was even here today. I am one of 9 children, and 6 of us started in the band at one time or another, but only 3 of us lasted. My brother, Howard Pyatt Jr., known as Sarge, graduated in 1962 and played the drums. His wife, Joyce, loaned us his drums for today. My brother, Bob, graduated in 1968, and I believe he was the only one, John, to flip those cymbals. Do you remember that? And in his senior year in 1968, we were to go to the Cherry Blossom Festival in Washington, D.C. I played the bells, and my brother Tom was also a drummer at the time. We were to leave April 4th, 1968, and I remember it well because my grandmother Pyatt had just died. And we would miss her funeral because my mother said there was no way the 3 of us were not going with Mr. Miliauskas' band. My mother, so 4 of the march buses left the Lehman High School that day with about 130 band members and some band parents, and we got to Washington and stopped in the hotel and changed our uniforms. We were to have our picture taken in front of the Capitol, and as we were leaving the Capitol, we saw this black smoke behind the Capitol. We went to the hotel and they told us to pack and leave immediately. Mr. Miliauskas really didn't want to. But Martin Luther King had just been shot, and we were not to stay there. We loaded all the buses, and we went to the Holloway cafeteria to eat. The workers wanted to go home, so they told us to eat whatever we wanted, because they were closing. Well, the guys just absolutely loved that. So some of us were getting very anxious, because it was something we had never experienced. We were just country bumpkins, and they had closed all the curtains, and we could not see the turmoil. They had closed, and when we finished eating, we got on the buses and went out of the city through every red light. We saw the people looting, breaking windows, stealing TVs. They had machetes in their hands, and we were scared to death. We got home about 3 o'clock in the morning and got home in time to go to my grandmother's funeral. We did go back in 1969 to participate in the Cherry Blossom Parade. And I was the first to play the chimes for the brass choir in Lake Lehman in 1969. And I noticed they still have them, so they probably need a new pair. I graduated in 1970, and then I became an elementary teacher for Lake Lehman, and I retired with 35 years of teaching in 2009. So Mr. Miliauskas became my colleague. It took me a long time to just call him John. My husband Rick played the trombone until his junior year, and I also became band sponsors. We had 3 sons, and our oldest son Michael played the quads, the double bass drum, and he graduated in 1997. I have so many great times that I remember from my band days. Sherburne, the picnics we had after were such fun. Spending a day at the band every year at Bloomsburg Fair and getting the day of school off. We played in the Sweet Valley, the Jackson Township, and the Veterans Day parades, and I had several people tell me that though they could hear that famous street beat, and they would get goosebumps waiting for our band to play as we marched in those perfectly straight lines, right past them. We even had fun at band practice, although that was Mr. Miliauskas' toughest time. But at performances, he would always give us praise and tell us what we did well. And as an educator myself, I appreciate what I learned from Mr. Miliauskas. He taught us respect, discipline, and most of all, he motivated us to be successful individuals and also in the band. I am very proud to have been a member of the Lake Lehman High School Band. So Mr. Miliauskas, John, thank you for the memory.